Frank Miller stood at the large window of the colony control center. Below him, the city of New Horizons spread out across the valley. 15 years of hard work had turned this distant planet into a home for 50,000 people. The buildings gleamed in the light of Epsilon Eridani, the star that gave life to this world 22 light-years from Earth. "Another beautiful day," said Olivia Carter as she joined him. As the colony's lead engineer, she had helped build much of what they now saw. Frank smiled. "Hard to believe how far we've come." "The new farm domes are at full production," Olivia said, checking her tablet. "And the mining operations in the northern hills are ahead of schedule." Their conversation was interrupted by a young technician who rushed into the room. "Administrator Miller, we're picking up strange signals at the edge of the system." Frank frowned. "What kind of signals?" "We're not sure, sir. At first we thought it was just cosmic interference, but they're getting stronger. And they're moving." Frank and Olivia exchanged worried looks. New Horizon had a small defense force, just enough to handle natural disasters and the occasional unruly colonist. They weren't prepared for anything serious. "Get me a visual if possible," Frank ordered. Hours passed as the colony's small array of telescopes and sensors focused on the strange signals. What they found chilled Frank to the bone. A fleet of ships was entering the system, unlike anything humans had built. "Those are not ours," Olivia whispered. Frank nodded grimly. "Send a message to whoever's out there, standard greeting protocol, and alert our security teams." The colony waited in tense silence. Then a response came through. The main screen in the control center flickered to life, showing a being with gray-blue skin, 4 eyes, and what looked like breathing tubes running along its neck. "I am Commander Drelk of the Valkyrie Dominion," the alien said, its voice translated by the colony's computers. "Your planet is now under our control. Surrender immediately, and you may live as servants of the Dominion." Frank stepped forward. "I am Administrator Frank Miller of the human colony New Horizon. We mean you no harm and wish to establish peaceful contact." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peaceful? Your kind establishes a military outpost at the edge of our territory and speaks of peace? We have observed your colony for some time. We know this is humanity's only reach into the stars. You are alone, isolated, and defenseless." "There's been a misunderstanding," Frank tried to explain. "This is a civilian colony." "Lies," Drelk snapped. "Your surrender will be accepted within 1 planetary rotation. After that, we take your colony by force." The screen went dark. "They think we're a military outpost?" Olivia asked. Frank shook his head. "And they think we're alone out here. Should we tell them about Earth? About the other colonies?" Frank considered this for a moment. "No, not yet. First, we need to contact home." They hurried to the communications center where Frank ordered an emergency quantum-encrypted message be sent to Earth. As the colony's most advanced technology, the quantum communicator could send a message that would arrive almost instantly, despite the vast distance. "Earth Defense Command, this is New Horizon Colony. We have made contact with a hostile alien species calling themselves the Valkyrie Dominion. They are threatening to attack. We need immediate assistance." But before they could confirm the message was sent, alarms blared throughout the colony. Multiple objects entering orbit. A technician shouted, "They're targeting our defense platforms." Frank watched in horror as the colony's small defensive satellites were destroyed one by one. Bright flashes lit up the sky as each platform exploded. "They're not waiting for our surrender," Olivia said, her face pale. "Get everyone to the emergency shelters," Frank ordered, "and protect that quantum communicator at all costs." The colony erupted into chaos as people ran for safety. The few security officers they had moved through the crowds trying to maintain order. In the distance, explosions rocked the outer buildings as the first Valkyrie weapons hit the ground. "Their ships are entering the atmosphere," a security officer reported. "They're landing troops on the outskirts of the city." Frank turned to Olivia. "Did our message get through?" She checked the communications array. "I think so, but I can't be certain," The array was hit just as we sent it. They're targeting our communication systems, Frank realized. They don't want us calling for help. Olivia's eyes widened. Because they don't know we already have. Frank gathered the colony's leadership in the underground command center. Maps of the colony displayed the advancing Valkyrie forces. We need to buy time, he told them. If our message reached Earth, help will come. But we need to hold out until then. With what? Asked the head of security. We have a few hundred guards with basic weapons. They have warships and who knows what else. Frank looked at each face around the table. We have 50,000 colonists who call this place home. We have engineers, scientists, and people who didn't come 22 light years just to give up at the first sign of trouble. Olivia stepped forward. The mining equipment can be repurposed. Construction machines can become barriers. We know, this land, they don't. The colony leaders nodded, a new determination in their eyes. They think we're just a single, isolated colony, Frank said. They have no idea what humanity is truly capable of. Let's keep it that way for now. Let them underestimate us. As the meeting ended, Frank took Olivia aside. I need you to do something more important than fighting. Our quantum communicator in the North Station is still intact. I need you to send a complete data package to Earth. Everything we know about the Valkyrie, their weapons, their tactics. Olivia nodded. I'll need a team. Take whoever you need, Frank said. If these Valkyrie think humanity is just one small colony, they're about to learn a painful lesson. Outside, the first Valkyrie ground forces were moving through the outer farms of New Horizon. Their gray-blue armor gleamed in the sunlight as they advanced with weapons ready. They moved with confidence, certain they were facing a primitive species with just one vulnerable outpost among the stars. They had no idea. They had just attacked the farthest, smallest extension of a humanity that had spread quietly through the stars, a humanity that had prepared for this day. As Olivia slipped away from the colony center with a small team, carrying critical data that would reach Earth, the first shots of resistance rang out against the invaders. The Valkyrie had come expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they had just awakened a sleeping giant. The message from New Horizon arrived at Earth Defense Command headquarters within seconds. Susan Wright, a young intelligence officer working the night shift, was the first to see it. Her eyes widened as she read the distress call. Sir, she called to her supervisor. Emergency transmission from New Horizon Colony. They're under attack by an alien force. Within minutes, the quiet command center transformed into a hive of activity. Generals and admirals arrived, still adjusting their uniforms after being woken from sleep. Among them was General Gregory Hayes, the head of Earth's defense forces. His face remained calm as he read the message, but his eyes hardened. Get me Chancellor Patel, he ordered, and begin Phase 1 mobilization. Linda Patel, the Chancellor of the United Earth Government, arrived at the command center 30 minutes later. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. How bad is it? General? Hayes pointed to the screen showing the limited data they had received. The colony is under attack by a species calling themselves the Valkyrie. Based on the brief transmission, they have superior numbers and technology compared to the colony's defenses, and they think New Horizon is our only colony, Patel asked. That appears to be the case. Their commander specifically mentioned that they believe it's humanity's only reach into the stars. A small smile formed on the Chancellor's face. Then, our strategy worked. They have no idea. For over a century, humanity had presented a false image to the galaxy. After early space explorers detected signs of hostile alien civilizations, Earth had developed a careful plan. They would appear weak, with just a single vulnerable colony far from home. Meanwhile, they built their strength in secret, hiding their true capabilities and their real expansion among the stars. What's the status of our forces? Patel asked. The first fleet is ready to deploy. The second through fifth fleets can be mobilized within 72 hours. The shipyards at Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune are at full production capacity. Patel nodded. Send a scout ship first. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with before we reveal ourselves. I have the perfect ship and captain for that mission, Hayes said. Captain Adam Ross stood on the bridge of the scout ship Arrow, the fastest and stealthiest vessel in Earth's fleet. His orders were simple: travel to New Horizon, assess the situation, and return without being detected. "Preparing for jump, Captain," his navigation officer said. "Proceed," Ross ordered. The Arrow disappeared into a fold in space, using technology that humanity had kept hidden from alien observation. The trip that should have taken years at conventional speeds took only hours. When they arrived at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system, Ross ordered all stealth systems activated. The ship became virtually invisible to sensors as they approached. New Horizon. What they found was grim. Half the colony was under Valkyrie control. Alien ships patrolled the skies while ground forces moved through the streets. But the colonists weren't giving up. Fighting continued across the city, with humans using whatever weapons they could find. "Zoom in on that building," Ross ordered, pointing to what had been the colony administration center. The screen showed Frank Miller and a group of colonists holding off Valkyrie soldiers. They were using mining tools, construction equipment, and a few old-style firearms. Against all odds, they were keeping the aliens at bay. "These colonists have heart," Ross said, "but they need help." Though his orders were to observe only, Ross couldn't leave the colonists with nothing. He made a decision that stretched his orders to the limit. "Prepare a supply drop. Mark it with colony maintenance logos. Include the special package." Hours later, Frank Miller and his resistance fighters found a maintenance container that had fallen from orbit. Inside were advanced weapons and communication, devices that no colony should have possessed. A simple message accompanied them: "Hold on. You are not alone." Meanwhile, on Earth, Chancellor Patel called an emergency session of the United Earth Government. "The time has come," she told the assembled leaders. "For a century, we have hidden our strength, letting potential enemies believe we were weak. We established New Horizon as our visible colony, while secretly building dozens more. We created a small public fleet while constructing hundreds of warships in the shadows of our outer planets." She paused, looking at each person in the room. "I am authorizing Protocol Hydra. We will reveal our true power and teach these Valkyrie a lesson they will never forget." The vote was unanimous. Earth would go to war. In a massive underground base beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral William Scott received his orders. As commander of Earth's first response fleet, he would lead the counterattack. "How many ships can we take?" he asked General Hayes. "Chancellor Patel has authorized the full First Fleet. 50 destroyers, 20 cruisers, 5 carriers, and the flagship Horizon's Vengeance." Scott's eyebrows rose. "That's more firepower than we've ever revealed to the galaxy." "And it's just the beginning," Hayes replied. "The second and third fleets are being readied as we speak." Across the solar system, hidden bases activated. Ships that had been disguised as asteroids or small moons revealed their true nature. Weapons systems that had been kept dormant hummed to life. On Mars, Venus, Europa, and a dozen other locations throughout the solar system, soldiers and pilots reported for duty. Many had trained their entire lives for this moment, knowing that someday humanity would need to reveal its strength. Captain Ross returned from his scouting mission and delivered his report directly to Admiral Scott. "The colony is holding out, but they can't last much longer," Ross explained. "The Valkyrie have established a blockade around the planet with 12 capital ships and numerous smaller vessels." 12 capital ships, Scott repeated, a slight smile on his face. "They really have no idea what's coming, do they?" "No, sir. They believe they're dealing with a species that has barely left its home planet." Admiral Scott turned to his fleet commanders. "We jump in 6 hours. Standard battle formation, multiple entry points to surround their position. Let's show these Valkyrie exactly what humanity is capable of." Across Earth and throughout the solar system, humanity prepared for war. After a century of hiding their true strength, they were about to unleash their power on an enemy that had gravely underestimated them. And it would begin with an endless fleet that no one in the galaxy knew existed. Vice Admiral Heather Morrison stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Vengeance, the largest warship humanity had ever built. Around her, officers prepared for the coming battle. Screens showed the positions of the 50 destroyers, 20 cruisers, and 5 carriers that made up the first response fleet. Jump drives charged and ready, Admiral, her executive officer reported. Morrison nodded. All ships, prepare to jump. Remember, our first priority is to protect the colonists. Surround the Valkyrie vessels and cut off their escape routes. The jump coordinates had been carefully planned. Each ship would emerge at a specific point around New Horizon, creating a perfect sphere around the Valkyrie fleet. It would be humanity's first major military action against an alien species, and Morrison intended to make it count. All ships report ready, Admiral. Morrison took a deep breath. Begin the jump sequence. In the vastness of space, 56 points of light flashed as humanity's warships tore through the fabric of space-time. The technology that allowed these jumps had been kept secret from the rest of the galaxy for decades. Now it would be revealed in dramatic fashion. On the Valkyrie command ship, Commander Drelk was reviewing reports of the colony's stubborn resistance when alarms began to sound. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Multiple ships appearing all around us," his sensor officer shouted. "They're everywhere." Drelk rushed to the main viewport in time to see a massive warship materialize less than a kilometer away. It dwarfed his command vessel, bristling with weapons unlike anything the Valkyrie had encountered before. "Impossible," he whispered. "The humans have only one colony. They don't possess this kind of fleet." On the bridge of the Horizon's Vengeance, Admiral Morrison opened a channel to the Valkyrie fleet. "This is Vice Admiral Heather Morrison of the United Earth Defense Force. You have attacked sovereign human territory. Prepare for consequences." She closed the channel before Drelk could respond and turned to her weapons officer. "Target their engines and weapons systems. Disable, don't destroy. I want prisoners and intel." "Yes, Admiral." Throughout the system, human ships engaged their Valkyrie counterparts. The aliens fought back fiercely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Human technology, developed in secret for a century, proved superior in almost every way. Among the stars, a squadron of small black ships moved unseen toward the Valkyrie flagship. These were the Wraith fighters, stealth craft designed to slip past enemy defenses. At their lead was Eric Taylor, the most skilled pilot in the fleet. "Wraith Squadron, maintain stealth approach," Eric said into his comm. "Target the flagship's main weapon arrays and engines. 3-second burst, then peel off." The Wraiths moved like shadows through the battle. The Valkyrie never saw them coming. Precision strikes disabled the flagship's main weapons, leaving it vulnerable. On the planet's surface, Frank Miller and the colonists watched in awe as the night sky lit up with the flashes of space combat. The Valkyrie troops attacking the colony suddenly found themselves cut off from their ships, confused and disorganized. Then new lights appeared in the sky, drop pods launching from the human carriers. Inside one of those pods, Marine Commander Jack Bennett readied his Special Forces team. "Remember your training," he told them as their pod plummeted toward the surface. "These aliens have never faced Earth Marines before. Let's make this a day they'll never forget." The pods crashed behind Valkyrie lines, and the Marines emerged in powered combat armor that made them faster and stronger than their alien opponents. They moved through the Valkyrie positions like ghosts, disabling communication systems and creating chaos. Jack's team headed straight for the colony center, where Frank Miller and the other colonists had been holding out. "This is Commander Bennett of Earth Special Forces," Jack called as his team approached the barricade the colonists had built. "We're here to help." Frank could hardly believe his eyes. "You got our message." Jack grinned inside his helmet. "Did you think Earth would abandon its people? The first response fleet is engaging the Valkyrie ships in orbit. This battle will be over soon." With the Marines' help, the colonists began to push back against the alien invaders. The advanced weapons that Captain Ross had secretly delivered earlier proved devastating against Valkyrie armor. In orbit, Admiral Morrison's strategy was working perfectly. The Valkyrie ships were surrounded with no escape route. "Admiral," her communications officer called, "we're detecting new jump signatures at the edge of the system." Morrison smiled. "Right on schedule. That would be the second fleet." 20 more warships appeared, completing the encirclement of the Valkyrie forces. The message was clear. Humanity was not just defending its colony, it was demonstrating overwhelming force. On the Valkyrie flagship, Commander Drelk watched in horror as his fleet was systematically disabled. His sensors showed yet more human ships arriving. "How is this possible?" he demanded of no one in particular. "Our intelligence said they had barely left their home system." A subordinate approached cautiously. "Commander, our ground forces are being overrun. The humans have deployed troops with advanced combat systems." Drelk made the difficult decision. "Send a message to the homeworld. They must know what we're facing here." As the battle turned decisively in humanity's favor, Admiral Morrison ordered her flagship to move alongside the Valkyrie command ship. "Open a channel to their commander," she ordered. Drelk's face appeared on the screen, his four eyes blinking rapidly in what Morrison's cultural advisors had told her was a sign of extreme stress. "Commander Drelk," she said calmly, "your fleet is disabled. Your ground forces are surrounded. Surrender now and your people will be treated according to the interstellar conventions of war." "How?" Drelk asked, his translator struggling to convey his shock. "How did you hide this fleet? Our observations showed only one colony." Morrison allowed herself a small smile. "New Horizon is merely one of dozens of human colonies, Commander. We have spread throughout this sector of the galaxy, always watching, always preparing. You attacked what you thought was our only outpost. Instead, you revealed yourselves to a power you clearly don't understand." Drelk's shoulders slumped in defeat. "We surrender." As the Valkyrie laid down their weapons, Frank Miller and Olivia Carter stood on a hill overlooking the colony. Marine dropships were landing everywhere, bringing medical supplies and reinforcements. "I still can't believe it," Olivia said. "All these years we thought we were alone out here, the farthest reach of humanity." Frank shook his head. "Earth never abandoned us. They were always watching, waiting. We were the bait in a trap centuries in the making, and the Valkyrie took that bait," Olivia replied. They watched as the Marines secured the Valkyrie prisoners. In orbit, Earth ships were already beginning repairs on the colony's damaged infrastructure. "What happens now?" Olivia asked. Frank looked up at the stars where the flashes of battle had been replaced by the steady lights of Earth's armada. "Now," he said, "the galaxy learns that humanity is not to be underestimated. Ever." Fleet Admiral Samantha Edwards stood in Earth's primary shipyard, hidden in the orbit of Jupiter. Before her stretched an endless sea of ships in various stages of construction. Enormous robotic arms moved across the hulls of destroyers and cruisers, guided by engineers who had perfected the art of building warships in secret. "Impressive, isn't it?" she asked the man beside her. Kyle Winters, chief engineer of the Jupiter yards, nodded proudly. "We can complete a destroyer in 5 days now. The new automated systems have cut production time by 60%. Admiral Edwards had been called from retirement when the attack on New Horizon occurred. As the architect of Earth's hidden fleet, she understood better than anyone the strategy that had protected humanity for generations. "How soon can we have the third and fourth fleets ready?" she asked. "The third fleet is already mobilizing. The fourth will be ready in 3 days. The fifth needs another week." Edwards nodded with satisfaction. "The Valkyrie have no idea what's coming." The message from Commander Drelk had reached the Valkyrie homeworld, causing panic among their leadership. Grand Sovereign Thex, ruler of the Valkyrie Dominion, called an emergency meeting of his war council. "This cannot be possible," one general insisted. "Our surveillance has watched the humans for decades. They had only primitive space travel until recently. One colony, nothing more." "And yet," Thex said quietly, "Drelk reports being surrounded by over 70 warships, ships that appeared from nowhere, using technology we do not possess." The council chamber fell silent. The implications were terrifying. If humans had hidden this level of technology and military power, what else were they hiding? "We must sue for peace," suggested an older counselor, "before they bring their full might against us." "Peace?" scoffed another. "They will demand reparations, territory. Our people will not accept such humiliation." Grand Sovereign Thex raised a hand for silence. "We need more information. Send scout ships to nearby systems. If the humans have other colonies, find them." Earth had anticipated this reaction. As Valkyrie scout ships spread out from their territory, they found what humanity wanted them to find: colonies on dozens of worlds, all with defensive capabilities that had been carefully hidden until now. On Earth, Chancellor Patel met with Daniel Martinez, who had been selected as humanity's ambassador to the Valkyrie. His mission would be delicate and dangerous: travel to the Valkyrie homeworld and negotiate from a position of strength without triggering a wider war. "Remember, Ambassador," Patel said, "we want them to understand our power, but we don't want to annihilate them. Make it clear that we've been watching them for generations and that we know far more about them than they realize." Martinez nodded. "And if they refuse our terms? Then they will face the Endless Fleet." The name had begun as a joke among shipyard workers, but it had stuck. Earth's hidden construction facilities could produce warships faster than they could be destroyed in battle. For any enemy facing Earth, it would indeed seem like an endless fleet. In the Jupiter shipyards, Kyle Winters guided a group of Valkyrie prisoners through the facility. These were high-ranking officers who had been captured during the battle at New Horizon. Admiral Edwards had ordered this tour for a specific reason. These officers would eventually return to their people, and they would tell tales of what they had seen. "This bay alone can construct 12 destroyers simultaneously," Kyle explained, watching their 4 eyes widen in shock. "We have similar facilities orbiting Saturn and Neptune, as well as several other locations I'm not at liberty to disclose." One of the Valkyrie, a ship commander based on his markings, spoke through his translator. "Why reveal this to us now? You kept this hidden for so long." Kyle smiled. "Because now you know what happens when someone attacks a human colony, and you'll tell others." Aboard the diplomatic vessel Peace Through Strength, Ambassador Martinez prepared for his mission to the Valkyrie homeworld. His ship would be escorted by 5 of Earth's most advanced destroyers, enough to demonstrate power without appearing as an invasion force. "Our intelligence suggests the Valkyrie are a proud species," his cultural advisor explained. "They respect strength above all else. They attacked New Horizon because they thought we were weak." Martinez nodded. "Then we'll show them strength but also restraint. That's a different kind of power." As his ship prepared to depart, Martinez received a message from Fleet Admiral Edwards. The Admiral's face was grim on the screen. "We've detected unusual activity in the Valkyrie home system," she said. "They appear to be mobilizing their central fleet. Be careful, Ambassador." "Do you think they're preparing for war?" Martinez asked. "They're preparing for something, but they haven't seen what we're preparing." Edwards sent orders throughout the solar system. The Endless Fleet would begin its deployment. Ships that had been hidden for decades emerged from secret bases on moons and asteroids. Construction yards that had been disguised as mining operations revealed their true purpose. From Earth, Mars, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and dozens of other locations, warships gathered. The first response fleet that had defeated the Valkyrie at New Horizon was just the tip of the spear. Now, humanity would reveal the full extent of its military might. On the Valkyrie homeworld, Grand Sovereign Thex received increasingly disturbing reports from his scout ships. "Human colonies have been found in 17 systems, Sovereign," his intelligence chief reported. "All appear to have been established decades ago, growing quietly while we watched only their most distant outpost. And their defenses? Substantial and previously hidden. They have orbital platforms disguised as satellites, underground bases, and fleet anchorages hidden in asteroid fields." Thex paced the length of his throne room. "They let us see only what they wanted us to see. For how long, I wonder?" "Based on the age of some colonies, at least 70 years, possibly longer." The Grand Sovereign's face darkened. "And we attacked them thinking they were weak." Before his intelligence chief could respond, an aide rushed into the room. "Sovereign, human ships have been detected entering our system." Ambassador Martinez's diplomatic vessel approached the Valkyrie homeworld flanked by its escort of destroyers. As they neared the planet, sensors detected hundreds of Valkyrie ships moving to intercept them. "They're taking no chances," Martinez observed. His communications officer looked up nervously. "Sir, we're receiving a message from Grand Sovereign Thex himself." "Put it through." The face of the Valkyrie leader appeared on screen. Unlike Commander Drelk, Thex had 6 eyes arranged in a circle around a central sensory organ. His skin was darker, marked with the ceremonial scars that indicated his high rank. "Ambassador Martinez," Thex said, his translator converting the clicks and hisses of his language. "You come armed to a diplomatic meeting." Martinez smiled. "As do you, Sovereign Thex. But my 5 ships pose little threat to your hundreds. I come to talk, not to fight." "Then talk. Explain how your kind deceived us for so long." "We didn't deceive you," Martinez replied calmly. "We simply allowed you to draw your own conclusions. You saw a single colony and assumed weakness. That was your mistake, not our deception." Thex's eyes narrowed. "And now you come to dictate terms?" "I come to offer peace, but yes, with conditions. The attack on New Horizon cannot go unanswered." Before Thex could respond, a Valkyrie officer rushed to his side, whispering urgently. The Grand Sovereign's eyes widened. "What trick is this?" he demanded. "Our sensors detect hundreds of ships appearing at the edges of our system." Martinez hadn't expected this. He checked his own displays and saw that Thex was right. Throughout the Valkyrie system, human warships were emerging from jump points, not just dozens, but hundreds. "This was not part of my mission," Martinez said truthfully. "I was sent to negotiate." "Then explain these ships," Thex roared. Martinez's communications officer worked frantically at his console. "Sir, it's the Endless Fleet. Admiral Edwards has deployed them to multiple Valkyrie systems simultaneously. It's a show of force, sir. They're not firing, just showing themselves." Understanding dawned on Martinez. This was Edwards' strategy. Not an attack, but an undeniable demonstration of humanity's true power. No Valkyrie ship had fired, and no human ship had targeted weapons. It was a silent message that needed no translation. This is what you face if you choose war. Martinez turned back to the screen where Thex waited, his alien features impossible to read. "Grand Sovereign," Martinez said. "Now you begin to see the truth. What you witnessed at New Horizon was just the smallest fraction of humanity's strength. We come in peace, but we are prepared for any eventuality." Thex was silent for a long moment. "I will hear your terms, Ambassador, but know that the Valkyrie Dominion does not bow easily, even to such impressive displays." As they arranged a meeting on the planet's surface, Martinez received a private message from Admiral Edwards. "The Endless Fleet stands ready," she said. "Every Valkyrie world is now within range of our ships. Make them understand, Ambassador. They attacked one colony. They've awakened a giant." 6 months after the Valkyrie attack, Frank Miller stood once again at the window of New Horizons Control Center. The colony had been rebuilt, stronger than before. New buildings rose where ruins had stood. The scars of battle were fading, covered by fresh growth and new construction. But New Horizon had changed in more significant ways. A massive military base now dominated the northern hills, home to Earth's newest forward command post. Ships came and went constantly, no longer hiding their presence. The pretense was over. "Hard to believe how much has changed," Olivia Carter said as she joined him. Frank nodded. 6 months ago, we were just a colony. Now we're the front line of Earth's defense network." They watched as a squadron of fighters took off from the new base, their engines leaving bright trails against the evening sky. Earth had poured resources into strengthening New Horizon, transforming it from bait into a fortress. "Have you heard the latest from the peace talks?" Olivia asked. "The Valkyrie have agreed to most of our terms," Frank replied. "They're seeding the 3-star systems along our border as a buffer zone." The negotiations between Ambassador Martinez and Grand Sovereign Thex had been long and difficult. The Valkyrie were proud, and accepting defeat did not come easily to them. But with human warships positioned near every major Valkyrie world, they had little choice. The treaty would establish clear boundaries between human and Valkyrie space, with neutral zones patrolled by ships from both sides. The Valkyrie would pay reparations for the damage to New Horizon, and diplomatic relations would slowly be established. On Earth, President Ryan Clark addressed the United Congress, explaining the strategy that had protected humanity for generations. The silent expansion has served us well, he told the assembled representatives. For over a century, we have grown in strength while appearing weak. We have established colonies throughout this sector of the galaxy, while letting potential enemies see only our most distant outpost. The strategy had begun after Earth's first explorers encountered evidence of hostile alien civilizations. Rather than announcing their presence loudly, human leaders had chosen a more careful approach. They would expand quietly, building strength, in secret while presenting a false image to the galaxy. That strategy has now served its purpose, Clark continued. The attack on New Horizon forced us to reveal our true capabilities, but in doing so, we have established humanity as a power to be respected. Across human space, the revelation of Earth's true military might had been met with mixed reactions. Some colonies celebrated the victory over the Valkyrie. Others questioned the deception that had kept them in the dark about their own role as potential targets. In the former Valkyrie border systems, Commander Nicole Johnson oversaw the establishment of Earth's new forward operating bases. These systems, rich in resources and strategically positioned, would serve as a buffer between human and Valkyrie space. The sensors should be positioned here, here, and here, she told her engineering team, pointing to locations on a holographic map. I want full coverage of all approach vectors from Valkyrie space. One of her lieutenants looked up from his work. Do you really think they'll try again, Commander? After what happened last time? Johnson shrugged. Probably not anytime soon, but that doesn't mean we let our guard down. The Valkyrie were adapting to their new reality. Scout ships reported that their military was being reformed, with new tactics and technologies being developed. They had learned harsh lessons from their defeat at New Horizon, and they were determined not to make the same mistakes again, but they were also reaching out in ways no one had expected. Valkyrie scientists had requested exchanges with their human counterparts. Merchants had begun to explore the possibility of trade. Slowly, cautiously, two species that had met in battle were learning to coexist. On the Valkyrie homeworld, Grand Sovereign Thex prepared for an unprecedented journey. He would travel to Earth, the first leader of his kind to set foot on human soil. The diplomatic corps was in chaos, trying to arrange security and protocol for an event no one had ever considered possible. Are you certain this is wise, Sovereign? Asked his chief advisor. To place yourself in the human's power. Thex's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of determination. They could destroy us now if they wished. That they choose not to tells me much about them. I would learn more. The journey would take weeks even with the faster-than-light technology the Valkyrie possessed. Human ships would escort him part of the way, another sign of the changing relationship between their peoples. Back on New Horizon, Frank and Olivia attended a ceremony marking the colony's reconstruction. Heroes were honored, and the dead were remembered. Frank received a medal for his leadership during the attack, though he felt uncomfortable with the attention. The real heroes were the ordinary colonists who fought with whatever they had, he told a reporter afterward. They believed they were alone out here, but they fought anyway. Admiral Morrison, who had led the fleet that saved New Horizon, approached him after the ceremony. Administrator Miller, she said, extending her hand. It's an honor to finally meet you in person. Frank shook her hand. The honor is mine, Admiral. You arrived just in time. Actually, Morrison said with a small smile, we could have been here sooner. We were monitoring the situation from the beginning. Frank's eyes widened. You knew the Valkyrie were coming? Before they attacked? We had indications, Morrison admitted. Long-range sensors detected their fleet movements, but our strategy required us to wait, to let them reveal their intentions fully before we responded. You used us as bait, Frank said, his voice flat. Morrison's expression remained neutral. We used a strategy that has kept humanity safe for generations. The needs of the many. Administrator. Before Frank could respond, a commotion near the podium drew their attention. A group of colonists had surrounded Olivia, who was showing them something on her tablet. What's happening? Frank asked as they approached. Olivia looked up, her face alight with excitement. News from the exploration teams. They found something in the Valkyrie buffer zones, something that might explain why they were so interested in this region of space. Her tablet showed images of ruins on a planet in one of the newly acquired systems, structures that had clearly not been built by humans or Valkyrie. A third species? Admiral Morrison asked, leaning closer. An ancient one, Olivia confirmed. Preliminary dating puts these ruins at over 50,000 years old, and there's evidence of advanced technology unlike anything we've seen before. The discovery would change everything again. Both humans and Valkyrie would need to reevaluate their place in the galaxy. If one ancient civilization had risen and fallen in this region of space, there might be others. Weeks later, President Clark welcomed Grand Sovereign Thex to Earth. It was a historic moment, broadcast throughout human space. Two leaders who had been enemies now stood side by side. "Your visit honors us, Sovereign Thex," Clark said as cameras recorded the moment. "The honor is mutual, President Clark," Thex replied through his translator. "Our peoples have much to learn from each other." As the formal greetings concluded, the two leaders moved to a private meeting room where they could speak more freely. Guards from both species stood outside, a strange sight that represented the new reality. "Your strategy was impressive," Thex said once they were alone. "To hide your true strength for so long, to let us see only what you wished us to see." Clark nodded. "It served its purpose. But perhaps now we can find a better way forward." "Indeed," Thex agreed. "Though I wonder, what would you have done if we had not attacked your colony? How long would you have maintained your deception?" Clark smiled. "As long as necessary. Patience is a human virtue, Sovereign Thex." "As is strength, it seems," Thex observed. "My scientists are still studying the technology your ships displayed. The ability to appear from nowhere, to move faster than should be possible. And your scientists have knowledge we lack," Clark replied. "Together we might achieve more than either could alone." As they began to discuss the ancient ruins and what they might mean, Thex leaned forward. "You know," he said, "when Commander Drelk first reported the size of your fleet, I didn't believe him. I thought it was a trick, an illusion. But then your ships appeared around every major world in our dominion simultaneously." "The Endless Fleet," Clark said. "That's what our people call it." "An apt name," Thex replied. "When we thought you had just a colony, we saw an easy target. We never imagined what you would unleash in response." Clark's expression grew serious. "Remember that, Sovereign Thex, as our peoples move forward together. Remember what happens when humanity is provoked." Thex's 6 eyes blinked in acknowledgement. He understood the message beneath the diplomatic words. They had thought it was just a colony. They had been wrong.